I normally have a quite loud voice, so I don't think I need this one. Can you hear me? I need it for the recording. Okay, so no worries. So the project is titled Citizen Inclusion in Power Sharing Settlements. What we're essentially trying to understand is this complex decision when it comes to citizens deciding for peace processes. This is something that we've been working many years. Alison and I, Yuji, and a few weeks before the submission deadline for the Aura 7 project, we discovered that there are some fantastic colleagues working on similar topics in New-Caledonia. And then we approached Matthias. Matthias joined the project. We've been working since then together. It has been a fantastic journey so far, metaphorically, but also physically, while being here the last few days. Anthony has been a wonderful host, Matthias, Anne, Marine, who's not here. We're so grateful for your hospitality and for sharing with us your insights, knowledge, and passion on the case of New Caledonia. So it's this complex decision that people need to make about endorsing peace. And this often requires coordination at multiple levels. Individual, collective, our communities. We're not just individuals, we're members of political parties, members of communities. We listen to our leaders. Sometimes we oppose them too, but we make decisions collectively. And also decisions made in international fora, what the UN says sometimes, whether they support peace agreements with power sharing, and how do they support these agreements, what do our political parties say, and community leaders, and how that eventually translates into decisions on the ground. This is what the project tries to understand. These decisions at multiple levels of analysis. Power sharing requires joint decision-making by minorities and majorities, by different ethnic groups, and it is recommended by United Nations, external mediators around the world. However, we have seen very few cases where this has been completely unproblematic. It is often a situation where you trade one problem with another one. It's a constant effort, a constant process of trying to bridge differences and bring people together. You can see the statues in Northern Ireland where they're trying two different groups to reach each other and hold hands, but they haven't yet been into a situation where they can shake each other's hand and agree that now we have resolved all our differences. So it's a long journey. And what is distinctive, the first distinctive element of this project is trying to understand this complex and long journey throughout the long life cycle of peace settlements. There are other aspects of the project that are interesting. Anthony has mentioned, this is a comparative project, right? Lots of different cases. This is quite unique in its comparative breadth. It covers not only the cases we're going to be presenting today on Cyprus, Northern Ireland, Mindanao, and New Caledonia, obviously, but also South Africa, which had a short period of power sharing in its transition from apartheid, the case of Lebanon that you hear quite often in the news, and of course Bosnia has been one of the most important case in the 1990s and continues today to be governed through power sharing institutions. So that's one very unique feature. There's going to be a lot of data collected, quantitative, qualitative. There are going to be open access data and opportunities for students and academics like you to be involved in the project and work on this open access data. It is an interdisciplinary project. When we first started, we were primarily focusing on political sciences, psychology, gender studies as well. Increasingly brought in law and economics through our collaborators here. It is also a multidisciplinary project. We bring together lots of different approaches to study the same question. Qualitative interviews, surveys, as well as experiments. How do all these come together? Let's say that we run a survey and we find that women are less likely to support a power sharing settlement. It might be the case. In all of 7 cases, let's say we replicate this. We need to know why. That's why we run ethnographic research, to find out what is happening in the surveys, and we give details to understand why this might be happening. And let's say hypothetically this is the case, we run experiments to see whether there can be changes in the peace agreement that can turn a population that might not be conventionally in favor of a particular compromise to incentivize their participation and support in the peace settlement. There we're using some of the conjoined experiments which are common to a lot of disciplines, state-of-the-art approaches to understand this complex phenomena. Our work is divided into different work packages. Again, what is very distinctive here is the number of people involved in this project. Colleagues from all over the world, with about 20 of us. You can see the photos over there. It includes some of the leading professors in the study of power sharing who have been advising the United Nations, and they have their signatures and their ideas in every major peace plan in the last few decades. Several awards. Colleagues like John McGarry, for instance, have been heavily involved in more than 5-6 major peace negotiations around the world, but also mid-career scholars, junior scholars, PhD students. There's a big family of academics working on this area with the capacity to also influence debates in New Caledonia as well. So it's a repository of knowledge there that we can bring and make available to local academics and politicians in New Caledonia, as well as other cases. We are also here, of course, to learn from the case. So what do we expect? Where do we expect to be 3 years down the line? Understand what drives support for peace around the world and in our specific cases. Contribute in building local capacity, including training. We have dedicated work package on negotiations. So if you're interested to learn how to negotiate, there are going to be workshops online, face-to-face, providing this training. Community leaders, students, provide visual maps of convergences in peace agreement. Sometimes we have this feeling that we have reached a stalemate and there is no solution in resolving our disagreements. But there might be, and we have cases, we have shown that in other places, there might be zones of possible agreement, potential convergences. And once we start asking people in surveys, we have the methodology, we have the theoretical frameworks to identify those convergences. And finally, we can fine-tune through our interventions and through our work the specific policies and institutions. We can return back to those who are, we can go back to those who are proposing arrangements for us and say, if you change the arrangements according to our survey, according to what citizens want, according to what victims would like to see, we can have better policies in post-conflict societies. Thank you very much.